The classroom clock ticked louder after the final bell. Mr. Marcus Reed sat at his desk, thumbing through ungraded essays. A November rain tapped the windows, each drop mirroring the tension that hung over his life lately. His wife's shifts stretched longer now, 10, sometimes 12 hours. Their dinners were quiet, their bed colder. He looked up as the door creaked. Chloe Winters, all confidence and curls, walked in, followed by Emily Hart, reserved, observant, the kind who spoke with her eyes more than her mouth. "We need help with our final project," Chloe said, letting her backpack drop. Marcus gestured to the front. "Of course. What's the theme?" Emily slid into a desk but said nothing. Chloe didn't sit. She hovered by his desk, fingers tracing the wooden edge. "We were thinking of doing something intense. Forbidden love." Marcus chuckled, nervous. "A bit cliché." She leaned closer. "Sometimes clichés are real." Emily finally spoke. "Like when people want what they shouldn't." Her voice was barely above a whisper, but direct. Marcus swallowed. "Focus on the story, not yourselves." Chloe smirked. "That's the problem, Mr. Reed. The best stories are about people like us." Marcus tried to redirect, flipping open a textbook. But he could feel Chloe's presence, too close, too warm. Emily watched him with a gaze that lingered a beat too long every time their eyes met. Chloe leaned on his desk, one hip tilted. "You look tired. Long week." He didn't respond. He couldn't afford to. "You always dress sharp," she added, smiling. Emily's voice followed. "He smells good, too." Marcus's hand paused mid-page. "That's enough." Chloe laughed. "Just compliments, sir. We're legal." He stood up, putting distance between them. "What's your thesis?" Chloe leaned back, unfazed. "What makes someone cheat?" Emily added softly. "And whether they regret it." Marcus met Emily's gaze. Something in her tone made his chest tighten. It wasn't a joke. Neither of them was playing anymore. "You two should go," he said. "Work on your outline." They didn't move. "We could work here," Chloe offered. "You're kind of the inspiration." Marcus stared at the clock. "It's late." Chloe slowly picked up her bag. "Fine." Emily stood too but paused at the door. "You know what's funny? The people who seem the most loyal, they're the ones who fall hardest when no one's watching." Chloe turned, touched Marcus's hand as he reached for his keys. A soft, lingering touch. No words. She walked out. Emily followed, casting one final look. Part question, part promise. Marcus exhaled alone in the room. He didn't move. He didn't erase the board. He didn't pack his things. He just stood there, hands still tingling where she touched him, and in the quiet, his thoughts betrayed him. He hadn't stopped her. He didn't want to. And somewhere deep inside, beneath layers of good intentions and a loyal husband's facade, something dangerous had stirred. A door had cracked open. He hadn't crossed it yet. But he would, and he knew it.
The air in the Varma household carried a silence too heavy for words. Raj Varma, once full of life and laughter, now moved through each day like a man caught between memories and obligations. It had been 4 years since he lost his wife, Ananya, to a sudden illness. Her absence hung in the house like unfinished music, visible in untouched corners, faint perfume on a scarf, the quiet ache in their son's eyes. Arav, 13, had learned to mask his grief behind silence and sarcasm. He spoke when necessary, mostly in monosyllables, and wore his headphones like armor. His world had shrunk to his bedroom and his cricket bat. Raj, too consumed by the grief he never learned to express, let the distance grow between them. Conversations became reminders of everything they'd lost. When Mira entered their lives, it wasn't with fanfare, it was with quiet hope. A schoolteacher in her late 20s, she was soft-spoken and observant, the kind of woman who noticed what others ignored. Raj met her through a mutual friend and, after months of nudging, agreed to a second marriage, not out of love, but a weary sense of duty. Arav needed a mother figure. Or so he convinced himself. The wedding was a muted affair. No loud music, no bright colors. Just quiet vows spoken with eyes that barely met. Mira moved into their home 2 weeks later, carrying more emotional courage than luggage. She knew this would be difficult. What she didn't expect was to feel like an intruder in her own home. Arv resisted her with passive defiance. He didn't shout or misbehave. He simply ignored her. When she made him breakfast, he left it untouched. When she asked about school, he nodded or shrugged. He called her Mira auntie, never deviating, never softening. Raj, too, seemed to vanish more each day. Work became his excuse to disappear. He left early, returned late, his conversations sparse, his gaze distant. Mira tried to reach him, through small gestures, shared cups of tea, quiet questions, but he remained locked in a world she had no key to enter. Still, she tried. She decorated the living room with small, warm touches. She learned Arv's favorite meals. She listened to the silence and responded with kindness, even when it went unnoticed. But one evening, as she sat alone on the balcony, a different voice joined her. Adifir, Raj's childhood friend, stopped by with his usual casual charm. He complimented the new curtains, cracked a harmless joke, and made her laugh, just once, but enough to remind her that she was still a person with a heart that longed to be seen. That laugh, brief and unguarded, echoed longer than it should have, and somewhere behind the closed bedroom door, Arv heard it began innocently enough. Cups of chai on the veranda, shared silences, and soft conversations under the dusky sky. Adifir, Raj's childhood friend, had always been around. A frequent visitor to their home, he brought with him a casual warmth that contrasted Raj's quiet detachment. He made Arv laugh, remembered birthdays, and noticed things Raj seemed too distracted to see. Mira had never expected to confide in Adifir. But one evening, as she folded laundry, he found her quietly crying. She wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed, but he didn't press. Instead, he sat beside her, saying nothing. That silence, gentle, understanding, was more comforting than words. Over time, her guarded thoughts spilled out. She spoke of her struggle to connect with Arv, of Raj's emotional absence, of the growing hollowness in her role as wife and mother. Adifir listened, not with pity, but with an attentiveness that made her feel heard. His empathy was like balm on a wound she'd hidden too long. Their moments together became more frequent. He dropped by when Raj was away, help fix things around the house, bring her books he thought she'd like. The space between them shrank with every shared glance, every joke that lingered too long in the air. She knew the line she was nearing. But the loneliness made it feel far blurrier than it should have been. One rainy afternoon, power flickered out. They sat in the dim kitchen, candlelight dancing shadows across the walls. He reached to pour her tea, their hands brushed, and something paused. Not time, but restraint. Her breath caught. So did his. Then came the kiss, gentle, searching, and irreversible. Mira pulled away, heart hammering, a tremble in her voice. This isn't right. Adifir's voice was low. But it felt honest. The guilt hit her like a wave, but beneath it, a startling clarity. For the first time in months, someone had looked at her like she mattered. Not out of duty or convenience, but longing. After that, there was no declaration, no promises. Only a quiet agreement to pretend it never happened. Yet the emotional current between them deepened, silent and steady. Raj remained oblivious, too buried in his grief-wrapped routine to notice the shifting dynamics around him. One night, Mira tucked Arv into bed. He mumbled, eyes half closed, "You're not that bad, for a stepmom." Her heart twisted. That small crack in his wall felt like a sunrise after a storm, but instead of joy, she felt dread. Because beneath the flicker of hope lay the truth she couldn't undo, and Adifir had just texted, "I need to see you."
A photo was left on his desk. No note. Just an image. Marcus and Chloe, too close, too familiar, caught mid-laugh. His stomach dropped. He looked around, but no one was there. Someone new. Someone was watching. He kept the photo buried in a drawer and told himself it was a prank. But paranoia settled into his bones. Every knock felt loaded. Every hallway glance seemed longer. Chloe noticed. "You're pulling away," she said after class. Marcus didn't look up. "We went too far." "We? Or you?" Emily stood behind her, arms folded. "You're acting like you didn't choose this." "I never promised anything," he said. Emily stepped forward. "You didn't have to. We gave ourselves anyway." Chloe's face hardened. "Is it her? You're still sleeping next to her, aren't you?" He didn't answer. That was the answer. Emily spoke first when Chloe stormed out. "She doesn't understand. You were mine first." He looked at her. "You're 18. This isn't love." "It's not," she said. "It's power. And now I have it." He left the room without replying. But her words followed him out. Vanessa sat on the couch when he got home. "Still in scrub size heavy, dinner untouched? Long day?" he asked. She nodded. "Saw a couple fighting in the ER. She was bleeding. Said she'd walked in on him cheating." Marcus froze. She looked at him. "Too long. Too quiet." "I'm not asking," she said. "Not tonight." He went to bed first. Couldn't sleep. His phone stayed face down on the nightstand. But it still lit up. "Emily, she's not the only one bleeding." He turned it off. The next week, Chloe skipped class twice. When she returned, she wasn't smiling. "She told me," she said, cornering him in the hallway. "You saw her without me. It was a mistake." "No. We were the mistake. I was a game." "It's over," he said. "All of it." Chloe shook her head. "You think she'll let go?" "You don't know Emily." He did now. Her silence. Her eyes. Her threats dressed as poetry. He tried blocking them both. Deleted numbers. Ignored knocks on the door after hours. But they found other ways, anonymous messages. A voicemail, just breathing. A note on his car windshield, liar. Vanessa asked why he was so distant. He told her it was stress. Workload. Sleep. She nodded. Said she believed him. But her eyes said otherwise. He walked into the office one morning to find the school principal waiting. "There's been a concern," she said. "About boundaries." He denied everything. "There's no proof," he added. But he wasn't sure that was true. The girls had grown cold with each other. They no longer sat together. Emily wore her hair different. Chloe started skipping again. The friendship they flaunted turned to rivalry. And he was the prize neither could keep without destroying. He found Emily after school. Told her to stop. "You don't get to shut the door now," she said. "I never promised you anything." "You didn't have to," she replied, voice steady. "I wrote myself into your life. You edited me out. You think that doesn't leave a mark?" He stood there, unsure what to say. She smiled faintly. "You should check your wife's messages." That night, Vanessa sat at the kitchen table. A phone he didn't recognize was in front of her. One he'd forgotten was still charged in his drawer. The screen lit up with a photo, his hand on Chloe's thigh. Blurred, but clear enough. She didn't say a word. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. She stood. Walked past him. Bedroom door clicked shut behind her. The silence screamed. His phone buzzed again. "Chloe, she knows, doesn't she?" "Emily, this wasn't about love. It was about what you give up." He looked around the empty room. No one wins in the end. Not when betrayal starts with a whisper and ends with the kind of silence you never come back from. He sat down, finally alone, and let the weight of everything crush him. He had crossed a line. And the world didn't fall apart in fire. It fell apart in quiet.